Hello? Hi there. Hello.
Hi.
Hi there, my name's Leeja. I'm a real-life lawyer on a mission to demystify the law and how it affects your everyday life. If you missed it, I recently dropped a reaction video to with Trixie and Katya, and y'all loved it. And I've been noticing that there have been some legal questions coming up in their most recent episodes and in some past episodes that I've watched as well, so I thought, why not make one more? Give the people what they want. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, you need to go watch my first reaction video after this one. But basically, Trixie and Katya are two drag queens. They were on the 7th season of RuPaul's Drag Race, and they make this show on YouTube called where they talk about whatever they want because it's their show and not ours. It's really fun, and as far as I can tell, it has gotten a lot of us through quarantine. Trixie is from small town Wisconsin. I'm from small town Minnesota, so I feel a kinship there. And Katya, you all informed me, is from Boston, but you also reminded me that she is also from a gay lake.
No, I came from a gay lake.
Do you think the ratio of
I was fished out of the water
like this monster,
a toddler.
All right, so without further ado, let's just jump right in, okay? Thank you so much to Atlas VPN for partnering with me on today's video. More on them in a little bit.
It's sort of like if you were to commit a federal crime at sea. But if you're on, what?
You get maritime law?
But if you do something horrible at sea, isn't it like,
Still a crime.
if I shoot someone on a boat somewhere, it doesn't count as like American
It
law.
depends on where you are.
Really?
Yeah, international
Oh,
waters.
I thought I could go out in the ocean and around.
Okay, I don't know much about maritime law except for what I learned during a very small section of an international law class I took in law school, but I'm kind of obsessed with it because a lot of it has to do with seamen. And you get to say seamen over and over and over again, and you have to keep a straight face. One time I watched a guy argue at a hearing in front of a judge all about seamen's rights, and he said seamen about 500 times to this judge, and I sat there and had to pretend like this was all serious. I love it. Okay, so every country's territory extends to what's known as the territorial sea baseline, which is the mean low water line, which I believe has something to do with the tides. Like when there's low tide, that's the low water line. That's where their territory extends to. So you've got the territorial sea baseline, but then beyond that, 12 nautical miles beyond the territorial sea baseline, which is about 13 miles on land. I don't understand why. Their jurisdiction extends to those 12 nautical miles. So you've got the territorial sea baseline, and then 12 nautical miles beyond that is the country's jurisdiction. All right, and then it kind of gets wishy-washy from there on out. There's some more kind of sections that are divided until you get to 200 nautical miles off the coast of the country. At that point, you are for sure in what's known as the high seas. And that's where jurisdiction really gets wishy-washy. Okay, but usually if, say, there's a crime that happens, the country of citizenship of either the victim or the accused is usually gonna take jurisdiction over it because they're the ones that have an interest in the outcome. Or the country where the vessel is registered, also known as the flag state, you know, like what flag is flying on the ship, they will take jurisdiction over the ship and whatever happened on there. Okay, but what's really fun is piracy law, like pirates on the open sea, pirates, like Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates are considered an enemy of all mankind. So with pirates, countries have what's called universal jurisdiction, where any country can seize any pirate ship, haul them back to their land, and try them in their own national courts. Pirates are fair game. Pirate law, who knew? You know, when I think of piracy though, I also think about online crimes. If you're interested in protecting yourself against piracy and other crimes when you're in international waters, consider Atlas VPN. Atlas VPN is a virtual private network which makes all of your internet traffic travel through a protected, encrypted tunnel. This way it protects you from spying, public Wi-Fi dangers, and it hides your IP address. Atlas VPN protects you from pop-up ads, malware, and other spooky things on the internet. It also allows you to surf the web from anywhere in the world. All of your streaming services, Netflix, HBO, etc., they all have geo restrictions because of licensing rights. Using Atlas VPN, you can surf the internet as though you are in any country throughout the world. So you can access these streaming services in other geographical regions, which allows you to watch other shows and movies that you wouldn't normally have access to. You want to see something on the Australian version of Netflix? Now you can with Atlas VPN. I also love to use it because I am a person on the internet and I understand the importance of protecting myself while I'm online. I don't want malware, I don't want viruses. Atlas VPN protects from both. You can stream and play your favorite games at lightning fast speed, and Atlas VPN will protect you across unlimited devices. And with Atlas, you can get the best VPN deal on the market. Right now, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount, meaning that you can get a 3-year subscription to Atlas VPN for $1.39 a month. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's an 86% discount. Just for you. You can get your deal by clicking on the link in the description down below. So thank you to Atlas VPN for partnering with me on today's video. Don't forget to check out the link in the description down below for 86% off.
Well, how about this scenario though? You're getting a pat down at TSA. You diarrhea shit yourself during the pat down and you have to get on the plane.
Yeah, but it's not against the TSA laws to shit your pants. I can still get on that plane with a hot load.
It's
in
not
my
a
pants.
legal issue.
So the TSA stands for the Transportation Security Administration, and technically because it's an administrative body, they issue regulations, not laws. But I would argue potentially that if you shit your pants and there's more than 3.4 fluid ounces in those underwear, they might not let you through.
Wait, are there any dolls that are illegal?
No, but there are a lot of controversial dolls.
So I did a little research. I didn't find any dolls that were illegal. I did find this case where they made Barbies on rollerblades, and when you ran them across a flat surface, literal sparks would fly out of the rollerblades. So those understandably got recalled, but I don't think they were officially made illegal. Okay, and then separately, and this is a little messed up, there are bills that states are starting to introduce trying to ban child sex dolls, like, you know, inflatable dolls, but they look like kids. Apparently that's a thing, but they're not technically illegal yet. This is what happens when you just start Googling things. All right, and then there's this interesting intellectual property case when it comes to Barbies. There was this artist by the name of Tom Forsyth, who took Barbies and put them in interesting scenarios, usually involving food preparation, and took photos of the Barbies. And it was meant to be a cultural commentary on the objectification of women and probably other deeper things that I'm not an art person and I don't know about. But so he took all these photos of these items, and Mattel, the toy company, not Trixie, sued this guy for breach of trademark and copyrights, and they lost. The court found that it was within his First Amendment rights to be taking these photos, and it was fair use because he was substantially changing the Barbies from their original form, and it was a commentary that had artistic value. Now you know.
Are you a fan of censorship?
I don't get it. The world is full of toxic poison. And if we don't see it on TV, we're better people. I don't understand what's going on.
Okay, so there's a long history of censorship in the United States, and I'm not gonna go into deep detail about it, even though it is really interesting to me and it has to do with First Amendment law, and I could get really nerdy about it. So for the first half of the 20th century, movies weren't considered protected speech under the First Amendment, meaning that the government could heavily regulate the content of movies. So in order to avoid a lot of government intervention, the movie industry created their own regulation called the Hays Code, where they basically banned anything like lustful kissing, nudity, anything that might be considered in any way obscene, any mocking of religion, any depictions of drug use, anything that could be considered taboo in any way. They self-regulated and self-censored during the first half of the 20th century, at least when it came to movies. Then there was a ruling by the Supreme Court in 1952 that said that movies were protected by First Amendment speech, and that was the beginning of us recognizing popular speech as opposed to political speech as a form of protected speech, because the First Amendment originally was written to mainly protect criticism of government, our ability to discuss our government without being afraid of retribution. So then there was this case in 1973 called Miller v. California, where the Supreme Court set the guidelines for what counts as obscene under the First Amendment. You see, the First Amendment does not protect obscene speech, meaning that it can be censored, and that is not a violation of your First Amendment rights. And the test is basically whether or not the average person applying community standards would find the speech offensive or appealing to the prurient interests. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage prurient interest, which just means sex. But if it has any sort of redeeming quality, like artistic value, then it could still be protected under the First Amendment. So around that time is also when that Hays Code in the movie industry was amended to a rating system that is pretty similar to what we have today. Again, self-regulation by the movie industry so that the government doesn't come and interfere and determine what is obscene based on this Supreme Court ruling. Okay, so that's the movie industry, but even before this, in the 1930s, we had the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, and they were the ones that determined what was obscene on the airwaves. But what was obscene then has changed because, again, that standard is based on community standards. So what we found obscene in the 60s was like Elvis Presley gyrating, but what's considered obscene now is very different. However, in 1978, in a case called FCC versus Pacifica Foundation, the Supreme Court found that under certain circumstances, the FCC can regulate speech that is technically protected under the First Amendment, but they could only do so depending on the audience, the medium, the time of day, etc., etc. That's why you can see raunchier stuff later at night, because they assume that children are asleep at that point, and the FCC is allowed to make that call, even if it means censoring what is technically First Amendment protected speech during daytime hours. So because of this, you have self-regulation on TV, movies, and radio, because those industries would rather regulate themselves as opposed to having the FCC step in and regulate them and fine them. Better safe than sorry, basically. However, with all this background, I do have to add, YouTube is a private company, and therefore they are not bound by First Amendment rules. You see, the amendments to the Constitution are only applicable to state and federal actors. So First Amendment doesn't matter to YouTube. What matters to YouTube is whether or not advertisers are gonna wanna put their ads on your videos. So that's why their terms of service are pretty strict, because a lot of advertisers don't want to be associated with whatever they've determined to be obscene. They want to be as palatable to as many people as possible. Which is why when I do things like live streams about Ghislaine Maxwell, YouTube refuses to put ads on that video and I don't make any money. All right? For YouTube, it's about advertisers, not about First Amendment issues. And that's the tea, my friends.
And
So what do you mean?
everybody,
It's illegal. It's illegal to be naked in public.
yes.
Sex offender.
I have one time, but like when I'm, let's say, walking home drunk, have to pee, and sometimes I'm like, if I pee, am I gonna be the person who gets arrested trying to pee in a bush?
Okay, so again, this deals with obscenity versus freedom of expression. Most states do find nudity in public to be against the law and to be considered indecent exposure. And pretty much across the board, states find indecent exposure to be a misdemeanor, which could lead to some jail time, but I did read that California is experiencing an overcrowding of jails and prisons, so judges tend to be more lenient when it comes to petty misdemeanors and other low-level offenses, so they might, instead of putting you in jail, just make you pay a fine and do a lot of community service. However, it is true that if you're convicted of indecent exposure, you could be mandated to registering for 10 years as a Tier 1 sex offender in California. I'm talking about California law because that's where these ladies are located. However, in California, in order to be found guilty of indecent exposure, you have to have exposed yourself in a sexual manner to someone who would be offended. And you have to purposely direct their attention to your genitals. So like if you were to like moon someone as you're driving by or like flash your boobs, probably not going to be considered indecent exposure. It has to be sexual in nature because again, you have that prurient interests factor to think about. And in California, it has to be willful. So I would guess that Katya's mental break blackout state when she was running around naked in downtown LA probably maybe wouldn't count as indecent exposure, or at the very least she could argue temporary insanity in her defense. Oh, I love these gals. If there are other episodes of them talking about law stuff that I've missed, please comment them down below because these are really fun to make. But at the very least I wanted to give you a part 2 because it's so fun. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much to Trixie and Katya for constantly making the best content that you can find on the internet. If you found this entertaining, shameless plug, please consider joining my Patreon. Yes, I have a Patreon. I give you behind the scenes access, early access to videos, private live streams, a Discord chat, all sorts of fun stuff over there. Please consider joining. And if you are considering being a content creator, please consider signing up for my content creator sessions. That's right, I give you one-on-one direction. If you're considering making content creation your side hustle or full-time gig, I will talk you through the entire process. process. Super easy, you just have to go to my website on the link in the description down below, and you can see my calendar and schedule yourself an appointment right there. All right, friends, that's it for me today. I hope you are having a great 2022. Please comment down below if there are any other videos you'd like to see from me, and consider smashing that like button and hitting subscribe if you want to hear more from me. Thank you once again to Atlas VPN for partnering with me on today's video. A reminder that you can check out the link in the description down below to get 3 years of Atlas VPN at 86% off. That's $1.39 per month, and you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. Check it out in the link in the description down below. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.